all social media, like people show you what they want you to see.
Absolutely.
Which I have no problem with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cool. Like, you know, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the control to post what you want, how you want, and who you want to see it, by all means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. But, you know, it's just the fact when people get caught up in social media and thinking that the likes and the posts really make their life and make them happy, that's when it gets to a certain point where it's just too much. Because I know millionaires that don't even have social media.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
You think billionaires have social media? That like most billionaires don't care about no social media.
Right.
Because they been had money.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think social media, you have to have a lot of followers, you know, six digit followers to get some money.
Right.
Because that's not the case.
You're listening to Sean Henry's Becoming, a podcast that focuses on the emotional journey of an entrepreneur from the thought of their business to the execution and beyond. I am your host, Sean Henry, a serial entrepreneur, speaker, real estate investor, landlord, 21-year retired Army veteran, and author of When the Bank Says No. I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs to talk about their processes and the lessons they've learned along the way. Fasten your seatbelts. The journey is rough, but rewarding.
All right, so we're here with Anthony Diggs, aka DJ Diggs.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great.
All right, cool. So we want to get into this right away, okay? Because we already been laughing it up. So I know we got a great show for our listeners today. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. You know, pretty much most of my my childhood life until I was 18, and I went to college at Kentucky State University.
Okay.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
All right. So most would say there's not a lot of black people in Ohio.
Well, it depends who you're talking to.
Okay.
But if you're talking to the masses, I understand.
Okay.
But it's definitely black people. I'm not gonna say a lot.
Okay.
But we in here.
Okay.
And we out here.
So it's a handful, or is
I would say it is definitely two handfuls.
Two handfuls. Okay. So were you? Did you grow up with a mixed group of people, or?
No, I grew up with all black people.
Okay.
From when I was in kindergarten. I mean, let me rewind.
Okay.
When I was in daycare.
Okay.
And then kindergarten.
Okay.
And then what's after that? Elementary school.
Absolutely.
Then middle school. Then high school. All the way up to college.
It was all black.
All black.
Okay. All right. Any siblings?
Yeah, I got 3 sisters.
Okay. Where do you fall in that?
3 sisters. I am the second oldest. I have 2 younger sisters and 1 older sister, and we all are in different cities and different I was about to say continents. But
so y'all all in the States?
Yeah, we all in the States, but we used to be in different continents. My family, you know, my mom and dad, my baby sister, they used to live in Africa.
Okay.
When I was actually in college, my mom and dad and my little sister moved to Africa.
Okay.
For about 2 years.
What country?
Ethiopia.
Really? Okay. Have you ever visited there?
No, I haven't, but my dad said I should. There's a lot of Halle Berry looking girls over there, so.
Oh, we following the Halle Berry chicks.
I mean, black is beautiful.
Absolutely. Okay. So did you grow up in an entrepreneurial household?
Somewhat I did. I was exposed to a lot of entrepreneurial things in my household. Like my mother, of course she had a job, but she did her thing on the side. Like, she had her little business on the side, and my grandfather, he had his business on the side. He did as well. My grandfather didn't live in Ohio, but every time we went to go visit, he had a side gig going on. He was a landscaper as far as the side business goes. And my mother, she had an organization that her and her partner built up, as far as like doing conferences, as far as speaking engagements and things like that. Yeah. So my mom is real, she has a more entrepreneurial spirit than my father.
Okay.
My father has a little bit, but my mom, I think I got the most of it from my mom.
From her. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you remember seeing that sparked you into becoming an entrepreneur?
Really the freedom. Like my grandfather, God rest his soul. R.I.P. and all that stuff. But he had his own schedule, pretty much. So when I was younger, all I knew of my grandfather was, he has landscaping business, and he gets up, he has his appointments. And after he's done, he comes back home. And when we go to North Carolina, when I was younger for the summer, I would go with him to his one of his jobs, help him out, and I was just so excited, like, oh man, I'm helping my grandfather doing this. And I just felt so accomplished. And he like, nigga, shut up and get in the truck. Like, but in all reality, I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I was just, maybe I was just happy to be out of town.
Absolutely.
But then again, I was just happy to be with him. And, I wasn't thinking of it like he was an entrepreneur. But once I look back at it now, he was booming. He had, like, it was going down. My grandmother didn't work because my grandfather was out there getting that check.
Right, absolutely.
He was out there getting that check.
So he was making it happen.
Yeah, he was making it happen. So my grandmother was at home making rolls and greens and mac and cheese and stuff.
To make sure everybody was fed on their day out.
I'm trying to tell you, come home, we eat like a king.
So tell me, what is your current entrepreneurial business?
Well, right now I DJ. I've been DJing for about maybe about 3.5 to 4 years now.
Okay.
So I've been doing that, and also I am in the works of starting up a food truck / DoorDash, Uber Eats, so that's in the works as well.
Okay.
So I'm about to enter the food industry. Really, it's going on now, really, but we're just putting all the logistics together now. So it's about to, it's about to be a great 2020.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the DJing first. Okay. So were there any hobbies or interests as a kid that led you into DJing?
No, not as a kid. But as I got older, like when I used to work, my 9-to-5 jobs, I used to make CDs, for myself, as far as, the best stuff out. Okay, let me make a CD. So I'll piece together my favorite songs from about 10 different CDs, and I'll have, kind of like a mixtape. But it would be, CD with different songs. So, if people ride with me or I ride with people, I would bring that CD and like, hey, pop it in. So they pop it in. They like, yo, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? So I always kind of like had a ear for, what was good as far as the music goes. So, at that point I was like, man, I'm looking for a side hustle, a side gig or whatever. So one of my friends was like, man, you should DJ. I mean, you already know all the new songs. And at that point at work, I even got to selling the CDs to different people. So they like, man, let me know when the new stuff comes out. You know what I'm saying? I'll buy a CD for $5, whatever. So I was selling CDs at work. You know, that was my little side hustle. And I was like, yo, you know what? I should DJ. So that's how the DJ came about. And then I called one of my friends that was a DJ. And I was like, hey, man, I'm not trying to step on your toes, but can you show me how to DJ? Can you teach me how to DJ?
Absolutely.
And he was like, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I got some equipment that I'm trying to sell. So I was like, okay, cool. So I went over there, you know, saw what he had. And I was like, you know, he showed me the basics. Like, you hit this button to do this, and you hit that button to do that. And he sold me his equipment, you know, that he had right there, and kind of like showed me the basics. So that's how that came about. So like when he did that, that was like, say for instance, it was on a Wednesday. So by Saturday, I bought the computer, I bought speakers, I bought everything you needed to be a DJ. I bought them all. Like I bought everything.
So you knew from the jump, from go, that this is what you were gonna do? No,
I didn't know that was well. When he showed me what to do, like, all right, you hit this button and hit that button, and that's that. Then I was like, okay, cool, sounds good enough. But when I bought the equipment from him, I had to buy all the other stuff. Like, I can't just have the equipment and not have speakers.
Okay.
You know, and then if I had speakers, I gotta have a computer because the system that he sold me runs off of a computer.
Okay.
So then when I had all that, I didn't have a lot of music for a DJ that's supposed to have. So I called one of my other DJ friends, and he had about 100,000 songs on an external hard drive. And he was kind enough to sell it to me. Well, basically copy his when I got, you know, a new hard drive. And he sold me by 100,000 songs for $100.
Oh wow! So is that the going rate, or is it?
No, no, not at all. So 100,000 songs on one hard drive, you could probably sell that for, you know, maybe about $1,000.
Wow!
So it was all kind of genres, it was instrumentals, it was any kind of genre you would ever want or ask for. It was on the hard drive, like all kind of songs. So he sold it to me for $100, and I was just in my house practicing for about a month and a half, and then nobody heard me except me. I was recording myself. It sounded horrible. But then when I found out, like, okay, this is what I do. Okay. So I was looking up a lot of videos on YouTube, like
YouTube
other DJs, you know, as far as what they do. And then, you know, I started DJing more. And then after that, when I felt comfortable, I just threw my own pool party at my apartment complex.
Okay, so hold on. Let me ask you about that. So for the new DJs that's coming up, they may not have friends that, you know, were so generous or moving into another space to give them their equipment. So how did you know what extra equipment you needed from what the first friend was giving you?
Well, you just can go to any kind of like music store. Like Sam Ash or Guitar Center. And you go in there like, hey, this is what I have. What else would I need? You know, so you just go ask those questions as far as what you need, what you're trying to do. And they can point you in the right direction, because I had the bare minimum and thought I was, you know, I thought I was it. Like, I can go do a whole party with 7,000 people. But as you start out, you always start out with things that, you know, you start out with the minimum, and then you build yourself up. So you always have to start with what you have and make it what you want. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a starting point.
So what was the startup cost?
Startup for everything.
Before you, so your friend gave you the first piece of
No, he didn't give it to me. He sold it to me for a discounted price. But yeah, he sold it to me.
Okay, let's be clear. He sold it to you. He wasn't that generous. So he had to give. So what was the discounted price that he started with?
Well, brand new, that equipment was maybe about $800-900.
Okay.
The DJ board he sold me.
Mm-hmm.
So he sold that to me along with the case that actually sold separately. So he sold me about a $1,200 piece of equipment along with accessory to it for about $500.
Okay. And the DJ board, what do you do with that? What does the DJ board allow you
So
to do?
you know when you you hear DJs say wiki 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 wiki, they scratch and they do all that stuff, hit all the buttons and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he sold to me.
Okay.
So that was a Pioneer DDJ SR. That is what it's called.
Okay. So he sold you the case and the DJ board for $800.
No, he sold it to me for about 500. It was worth about eight or 900.
Okay. And then you went out to one of the local music stores and then you purchased.
I purchased speakers.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased a computer.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased wires. I purchased plugs. I purchased power outlets and power strips, external hard drive. I purchased all of it.
So the computer, is it just a traditional laptop or?
Yes, a MacBook, but you can DJ off a traditional laptop like a Dell or HP, but I always would consider a Mac because I've never seen a DJ off anything else.
Okay.
Besides a Mac.
Okay. Is there a special software or something that Mac
Yeah,
has?
well, yeah, it's called Serato. It coincides with Mac better than HP in my experience.
Okay.
Hi, this is Shawn Henry from Henry's Becoming. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no listenership. It's everything you need to make in a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
All right. So you went out and you spent how much more money just to get started?
Just to get started altogether, I probably shelled out about $3,500.
$3,500.
Yeah. To start a business, $3,500 without knowing what you're doing, I don't think that's a bad investment.
Okay.
People spend about $30,000 or $20,000 sometimes for something that they think that's gonna work.
Absolutely.
So I just basically I bet on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if I said practice makes perfect. So I was in sports. So if I practice this, I got all the equipment, I got all the tools, then something's good is gonna come out of it, and that's my train of thought.
Absolutely. So that's a good thought process to have. All right. So you bought all the equipment. You spent about $3,500. You spent about a month and a half just working on it. So at what point did you decide, okay, let me throw this pool party since I'm the only one that's been listening to me. Let me see who else likes what I'm doing or don't like what I'm doing.
Correct.
So at what point did you decide that?
Well, when I was practicing at the house, I always would record myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I would record it and then I would listen back to it probably like the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would kind of compare it to what I was listening to on, online from YouTube, like the professional DJs.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they were better than me, but I was like, okay, let me listen to something that I can bear listening to. Because if I had a good ear for music, then I know what sounds good and I know what sounds bad.
Okay.
So of course, my first, my first 30 days of recording was kind of rough, but they got better after every time I listened to them. Like, okay, this is good. Okay, well, this is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I messed up right here. So I noticed my mistakes. So then a few times when I was DJing, I understood, what would sound good with what song and what song would not sound good with another song. So once I got that down, and I pretty much listened back to everything that I was playing. I kind of got a good feel for what my style was and what I sound like and what I should sound like.
Okay.
So I just went off that and I was like, okay, this is pretty decent enough to throw a party.
Okay.
So I just went out on the limb and called my friends, and good thing about it is one of my friends in my complex thought about barbecuing that day. And I said, perfect, call all your friends and I'll just play some music. So that's what happened, and it was probably about 100 people ended up showing up. And then after that, even at the party, people was asking if I had a card, like after about an hour of me DJing. And that's when I knew that I wasn't that bad.
When people asking to pay you, then okay, I might can get away with this.
Yeah, little kids coming to me, hey, my mom asked me, do you have a card? And I was like, oh, I don't have many of those. So, and I was just posting on Facebook, when I first started DJing. And my next gig was the Housewives of Atlanta.
Okay. How did you land that?
So one of my friends on Facebook was she was one of the casting directors for Real Housewives of Atlanta. And she saw on Facebook that, I was DJing. And she just called me out of the blue, like, hey, I see you're a DJ. Like, yeah, I've been DJing, just trying to do my thing. She was like, okay, well, the show needs a DJ. Are you available? And gave me the date and was like, it's not paying anything, but it is exposure. But I really was not worried about or concerned about any type of payment. Mm-hmm. I was just glad that she said Housewives of Atlanta, mm-hmm. and I'll be on TV.
Absolutely.
That's all I needed to hear. I didn't know what I was doing, but I act like I knew what I was doing. So absolutely. I told her, absolutely, I'll do it. So, and that's where really it started. And then after that aired, people saw me. Like, my mom was the first one to call me or text me, like, do you know you're on Bravo? I said, what? Really? So after that, then it kind of like blew up, and then I started DJing a lot after that. So a lot of practice. When after the pool party is a whole lot of practice, because I wanted to be, good. Once people, responded to my music and my mixes and my transitions and all that stuff. So it worked out.
So you did a lot of unpaid internship almost for your own business.
Why would you say I did a lot?
Well, you said you did a lot of shows.
No, I said I did a lot of practice.
Okay, so the practice was not in front of people.
Correct.
Okay, so you went back into your spot.
Yes.
Okay, and you just practice, almost like what you did for the month and a half before the pool party.
Right, because I got motivation when people was, asking for a card and saying they was liking the music and stuff like that. So it gave me more motivation to practice and, get better.
Okay. All right, so you did the Atlanta Housewives show. Your mom got to see her baby boy on television. Did you know you were on Bravo? And then what happened after that? Were you booked for any other shows with that brand or anything else big after that?
Well, she told me I was on Bravo. I didn't know. So she told me, and then after that, the next day on Facebook, it was I probably got about 200 different messages on Facebook, like, yo, you on Housewives of Atlanta? I didn't know you DJ. You DJ? Oh my gosh, I think I saw him. So it was a lot of speculation around there about me, and if that really was me, because a lot of people that from college and stuff like that, and I'm friends with on social media, didn't know. They was just like, yo, that looks like Diggs. Is that him? And that's when it happened.
Okay.
Like, everybody knows, like, now I DJ. So after that, a lot of people that know me from before just booked me out of the blue from me just knowing them, not knowing how I DJ, not knowing how how if I could rock a party or not. Just know me off knowing me, just being always a good, genuine person or whatnot, and just booking me off the strength that they know me. So I'm very thankful about that, but I'm even more thankful that they was happy with my services, because I always I'm like a perfectionist, meaning I always go back in the lab and practice and make sure that everything is right, and make sure that people like what they're hearing from me, because that's a part of my brand, that's a part of my that's me at the end of the day. Like, when they look up there and say, oh, who's DJing, that's me. So if you consider me, you consider good product.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to ever put out bad product. So that's why practicing things that you're passionate in are very very effective, if you ask me.
So you did little to no advertisement. So you feel like the episode on Atlanta Housewives kickstarted your career?
Yeah, I think it definitely kickstarted. As far as social media goes, it kickstarted basically it sent out the smoke signal that I DJ now. And not only do I DJ, I was on TV DJing.
Absolutely.
So that hold a little bit more weight than you just saying you DJ now.
Absolutely.
So, it was a real good look. Like, whoa, he DJing, but he's on Housewives of Atlanta, so he must be some type of good.
Absolutely.
So
if the number one franchise or brand of that franchise chose him to DJ, then he's gotta be on point.
Exactly. So that's how I thought about it, and that's how I felt. So when somebody else, booked me, I felt like they need to get that quality.
Absolutely.
That quality product that they had on Housewives of Atlanta. So, it just I just want to make sure that people would know that this is not a one-hit wonder. This is what's happening.
Or it wasn't edited by the TV show.
Yes, which it was, but the
Not
masses don't need to know.
Okay,
that.
Absolutely. Until they hear this podcast, now they would know. Okay, and was your friend ultimately happy with your performance for the show?
Absolutely,
okay,
absolutely.
Good.
She was satisfied.
Okay, that's definitely dope. So you said you've been DJing for about 3.5 years. So that was the start of it. So how has business been going thus far? Are you DJing full time? Do you have a 9-to-5 and you're, this is still a side gig, or?
So after about, let me think. After about 9 months, I was able to DJ full time.
Wow.
Yeah. So
congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate that. So I was able to DJ full time. So I was DJing full time for about maybe about 2 years or so, 2 years straight. And I, that was my, my bread and butter, my thing. I was at least getting about 3 calls a day by all new people for inquiring about different DJ events. So that was that, but I ended up coming to another opportunity where I can make my own schedule as far as like a 9-to-5 per se, but it would not interfere with my DJing.
Okay.
So, I double dip.
Absolutely. So it's always good to have that guaranteed funds in order to fund your entrepreneurial endeavors as well. So that's a great segue, because my next question is about job shaming. I see on Instagram a lot of people, mostly in the entrepreneurial community, they job shame. Oh, you need to stop, trying to build someone else's vision. You need to have your own. Most people aren't cut out for entrepreneurial life.
Correct.
So how do you feel about that? Are you aware of that? Have you seen any of that? The job shaming?
I have not seen any of it, but I believe it when you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody, but a lot of people on Instagram, they post what you want them to see.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if they have a job, they're not going to post them at their desk.
Right.
They're not going to post a picture at their desk, like, taking them calls because they work at Verizon.
Right.
They're going to post a picture after they get off work
right.
that weekend.
Absolutely. Right.
With the pose.
Absolutely.
So I haven't heard that, but I definitely believe you. But I think that, for people that's job shaming, and they want you to think that, everybody needs to get their own path and be a boss and be an entrepreneur, which some people are not cut out to be entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Like, if you look around the world and you look like, okay, look at all these houses,
Mm-hmm.
right? But look at all these apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all these condos.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone is not meant to have a house.
Right.
Everyone's not meant to have an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are meant to have condos, some people are not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically what I'm saying is, go at your own pace. Do not ever listen to anyone on social media that you don't know.
Absolutely.
That's not giving out positive information.
Absolutely.
Or positive vibes, because people can shame people that have jobs, but at the end of the day, whoever is shaming, are they paying your bills?
Absolutely.
Most likely not.
And then on top of that too, you are, like you said, you're posting stuff, but you forget there's people who know you in real life.
Correct.
So some of the stuff that you're posting, like you said, just can be a facade, but you forgot that there's some people who truly know you in real life and know that you not like, what was it, Drake he had a line, he said, you saving pictures to post, or like you reusing the same pictures to make it seem like you
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find that.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people do that. They post this picture, or they take a picture on, like, Wednesday, they'll post it on Saturday. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But
then they post the same picture of them on the same flight. They probably had on a jacket in one picture, took the jacket off, took a picture in the shirt, took the, what I'm saying, put on a scarf. Now it looked like they airport hopping.
On all social media, like, people show you what they want you to see.
Absolutely.
Which I have no problem with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cool. Like, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the control to post what you want, how you want, and who you want to see it, by all means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. But it's just the fact, when people get caught up in social media and thinking that the likes and the posts really make their life and make them happy, that's when it gets to a certain point where it's just too much. Because I know millionaires that don't even have social media.
Right.
You think billionaires have social media? That like most billionaires don't care about no social media.
Right.
Because they've been had money. So don't think social media, you have to have a lot of followers, you know, six digit followers to get some money.
Right.
Because that's not the case.
How many followers did you have approximately in Facebook when your inbox got flooded after the Bravo Atlanta Housewives airing?
Probably about 1,000.
Okay. And those were,
you know, like
pretty much close friends. And
yeah,
family.
most of them were, you know, close friends and stuff like that. But when you put out good product, you know, you don't need, like, it doesn't matter with social media how many followers you have or whatever, because, you know, good product is you do a gig or you do a show or whatever you do, you get referrals. Absolutely. Money comes from referrals. Money doesn't come from followers on, you know, social media. To me, I mean, in my experience, like, money comes from referrals, word of mouth. Old school.
Okay, old school. Okay, definitely. All right, so what's your take on this gross report narrative? So you talked a little bit about you were able to quit your job pretty much and DJ full time after about 9 months. So wait, let me back up just a little bit, get a little bit into your...
Backed up, because I didn't never say quit my job.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Okay. My bad. You said you were able to work full time as a DJ.
Right. So I got laid off.
Oh. Okay. That does make a difference.
I got laid off.
Okay. Well, then that's another question. All right. So you got laid off. Was it because DJing was more important? Or?
No, I mean, you know, if a company doing layoffs, you know, I mean, shoot, they laying off. They trying to cut that budget, trying to, you know. Okay. So when I got laid off, like, unlike most people, I was like, thank you. Okay. Absolutely. I'm like, thank you. Okay. Because now I have more freedom to promote myself. Absolutely. I have more time to focus on, you know, DJing and you know, see who, you know, wants to book me and, you know, follow up on leads and all that stuff. I have time for that now and time to practice. You know, so
it was a blessing. So instead of you, woe is me, what am I gonna do for money, you just threw your all into DJing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I just had faith that I was that good where I didn't need a 9-to-5 to support my living habits and my rent and my, you know, my utilities and stuff like that. I'm like, I feel like I'm good enough to, you know, get different opportunities to pay for my lifestyle with this hobby that I picked up and now I'm passionate about.
Absolutely. So that whole bet on me all over again.
Absolutely. Like, I would encourage anyone to bet on themselves all the time. Okay. Because if you're passionate in it and you can see it before you get it, then I would definitely take that step. Because if you don't take that step, then you're always going to be thinking about what if. And you only got one life.
Absolutely. So that whole, I love Drake's YOLO, you only live once, but in actuality, you live every single day. You only die once.
You only die once. You're absolutely right. But you just got to be in that mindset. Because if you're not in that mindset, you know, you're going to feel like you're dying every day. Meaning, if you're not working or you're not working towards a goal or you just complacent, you're going to feel like your life is a waste sometimes. Absolutely. And, you know, I think everybody been at that point at one time in, you know, their life. Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? You know, so you just got to be positive in all situations, you know, and pretty much trust the process. You know, figure out what you like to do, figure out what you passionate at, and see if your passion can turn into some dollar signs.
Absolutely. So let me ask you again, we're going to get into your finances just a little bit. Let me ask you, how did you create your rates? Like, how did you know from get-go how much you needed to charge for your services?
Well, the DJs that I knew a few DJs, I asked them. I asked them what they charge and how long they've been DJing. So based off what they said, I lowered my rate. I mean, I didn't lower my rate because I didn't have a rate.
Okay. That's fair.
I had a starting point.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I started at like $50 an hour.
Okay.
So that was my starting rate. So.
And was that more than what you were making at your job? $50 an hour?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Don't nobody make no $50 an hour.
I mean, attorneys do.
Yeah,
but my question is, okay, so but you're working less hours,
right,
too.
For
okay,
sure.
So you have to kind of make, like, how do you, okay, if you make, $10 an hour at your regular job and you're working eight hours a day, and now
$80 like in one day, like, okay, cool. But if I'm charging $50, I work 4 hours, it's $200.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, dang, they booked me for $200. Oh wow, like I'm like super excited. But is that excitement is good because I'm first starting out.
Absolutely.
I'm like, getting booked for the first time for a first event that you ever got paid for, that's an exciting time.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't care, if a DJ makes, $200,000 when they DJ for an hour and a half, because there's DJs out there like that. But starting out, if you're coming up and you're just, figuring it out and you get paid $50 an hour and you got a gig for 4 hours, $200, you're excited. Like, you're excited. And that's how I was. I was excited and I was thirsty.
Absolutely.
So when you thirsty and excited, you happy to get paid off of it, because shoot, you a DJ this shit for free. But you getting paid just like $200, you like, let's go.
Right.
So, so you have a different mindset from the levels that you go. So, starting from the bottom, 50 an hour, till now, where, I could get shit, $1,500 for a gig.
Okay. You just booked one, a wedding for a little bit more than that.
Yeah, so I got that going on where I do a lot of weddings. So the weddings, you can get up to $2,000 for that. So
how long does a wedding gig usually last?
About 6 hours. Okay,
so you can get about $2,000 for 6 hours. So that's still a good day's work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You do four, how many weeks in it? How many weeks is in
4 weeks.
A month? 4 weeks. So you do one event as far as weddings, and you charge $2,000 for every week in a month. That's $8,000 in 1 month.
And you literally only worked 4 days.
You work 4 days.
Yeah.
That's good money.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that wish they could do something like that. All right. So at what point did you realize you needed to increase your rates?
I increased my rates when a lot of people were like requesting me and like, booking me. And I'm like, wait, something ain't right.
Right.
Something ain't right.
I'm either that good or too cheap.
Yeah, either I'm great or I'm like, I got it for the low.
Okay.
Like Shorty Low said.
Okay.
I got it for the LO.
Okay.
So I pretty much went up on my rate the next year. After the first year I went up like $25. So then it was $75.
Okay.
Then the next year I went up $100 an hour. Then I went up 125, but then it's different. It's different genres you have to go to as far as music to get better rates.
Okay.
So
can you elaborate on that?
If you're a hip hop DJ, you're mostly working in the black community, and it's different rates for that. So if you do house music, which is in the Caucasian community, it's different rates for that. Mm-hmm. So if you're an EDM community, you get different rates for that. Mm-hmm. So, it's just about what type of genre you want to go to and what type of events you want to do. Mm-hmm. And what kind of DJ you are to get the rates that you're really looking for. So the more house music and EDM music you get the most money for. So when it comes to hip hop clubs and stuff like that, you get less money for. You get weddings, you get more money for. So a lot of times, like, I try to make myself a DJ where I can DJ any type of event that you throw at me, but I really don't want to do the clubs like that because that's less money. You cannot make or predict your rate. They tell you what they pay rather than you telling them what you charge.
Wow. So you mostly do?
So I mostly do private events as far as birthday parties, homecomings, anniversaries. Did I say weddings?
You did too.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So my bread and butter is corporate events and weddings.
Okay. So how would a DJ get into the corporate event? How would they get into that world?
So the best way to get into corporate events is two different ways. You can partner up with an entertainment company. There's a lot of entertainment companies that provide DJ services in your city. Or, you could do it the old school way. Because I'm a big fan of old school. Okay. You could go to these companies kind of like door to door. And hey, I'm a DJ. And I provide these services. And as far as your holiday parties or any type of parties that you have for your company, I'm a DJ that can provide services for you, and give them a professional card, give them a professional price list, give them a professional website where they can go off of. And also, a big thing is you have to get a contact. Because if you do not get a contact, then you're going to be waiting for them to, reach out to you, when you always need to reach out to them first. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to be a hunter. Mm-hmm. Not, laid back.
Stuff to come. Absolutely. Waiting. You got to go get it.
You got to go get it. You can't, just be laying back waiting for people to contact you. You gotta get out there, get your feet dirty, get your hands dirty, and really make calls. Because I'm a big believer of, the more consistent person and the person that works the hardest is gonna get the business, whether they're better than you or not. Mm-hmm. If you at the house sleep and they up making calls, who you think gonna get the first piece of business?
Absolutely.
The person making them calls. So I'm a big believer of just grind it out, but also network as well. So make your job easier when you network, but also grind and network at the same time.
Okay, absolutely. All right. So what's the most rewarding part of entrepreneurship?
Absolutely the freedom. The freedom, because you can you call the shots. You can consider yourself a boss, which everyone wants to do. Mm-hmm. But along with that, it's a trade-off. You can consider yourself a boss. You don't have to get up at a certain time. You don't have to punch a clock, but you have to be open 24/7.
Okay.
No time is a bad time.
Okay. Okay. Elaborate on that a little bit for me.
If people call you at 3 p.m., that's a good time.
Okay.
If people call you at 1 a.m., that's a good time. You can talk.
So is it for your line of work, or are you saying this across the board entrepreneurship?
I'm just saying across the board, not my line of work, because if you're working across the board, you might have people in different countries and different continents. Okay. You know, if you have a tech company, if you have a website company and somebody heard about you and they live in Croatia, mm-hmm. and they call you and it's the 1 o'clock in the morning your time, you know, you can't say call me back at
when I wake up
8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Because
on their time it might be 11:30 p.m.
Okay.
So as an entrepreneur, all time is a good time. Okay. It's no bad time. So that's the thing. It's gonna be some stuff you have to sacrifice, you know, to get where you want to be, because, you know, you can't, you know, dictate when people do business with you.
Absolutely.
They'll do business with you when they think of you, you know, when they, you know, when somebody says something like, yeah, you should call this guy, and they end up calling you, but you're on a different side of the world, say for instance. Mm-hmm. You know, what are you going to do? You going to turn down the business, or you going to talk?
Absolutely. Okay. And what about the licensing?
So the licensing, yeah, you can be licensed. You have a business license, and you can do that through the state that you live in. So, which is, you know, not a lot of money. I don't know it off the top of my head, mm-hmm. but to get a license as far as the business of, you know, business license, it's no more than, you know, $150.
Okay. So they just go through their
local state.
Okay.
And you know, go from there.
Okay.
Let Google be your friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, what's the most unrewarding part of being an entrepreneur?
The time you spend building your business, you know, the time that you put in without making any money off the top. Like, you know, because you could spend, say for instance, you know, go around the city or whatever, just giving out cards and stuff and just promoting your business, mm-hmm. just to see if somebody call you back, and nobody calls you back. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, that's frustrating. Mm-hmm. You know, but, you know, you always gotta have a positive mental attitude going into it, and you have to know when you get into entrepreneurship, you gotta build it from the ground up. So you have to know you're gonna go if you're not going through a slow phase or a bad phase, and everything is good, you know, all the time, then just beware that it's going to be a downtime. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather have my downtime first than last. Okay.
And then it comes in waves too.
Yeah, it also comes in waves. It comes in different seasons.
Okay.
You know, because a lot of times you have slow seasons, mm-hmm. and you have seasons that are, you know, that are rewarding. Mm-hmm. You know, my line of business, the slow seasons are in January, February, mm-hmm. and they pick back up end of March, April.
Okay.
You know, because you have to consider the holidays. Mm-hmm. You got to consider New Year's. Then you got to consider weather.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff happens in the beginning of the year, you know, like Christmas, Thanksgiving. But as far as DJs, it's a lot of Christmas parties, mm-hmm. a lot of holiday parties. Then it's New Year's. You have New Year's parties. So after New Year's parties, people are kind of, you know, tapped out a little bit. So then, you know, January is going to be like, you know, kind of dry a little bit. February, you trying to pick back up, see where everybody's at. Mm-hmm. March, you kind of like doing the same thing. And then April comes, the sun comes out, and everybody want to party.
Okay. So what do you do? What do you do in the slow seasons?
In the slow season, I you know, it's a lot of networking events. You know, a lot of maybe small events, smaller than what's your usual, but also a lot of in the cold season you can do bridal shows. Well, bridal shows is brides are ready to get married and they're looking for a DJ, they're looking for a photographer, they're looking for, you know, a wedding planner. So a good thing to do is go to these bridal shows, kind of like set up a booth, you know, and then book events from a bridal show. That kind of like what I just came from, where you can get brides that's ready to book for that year, later on in the year, as far as like, you know, July all up until October, as far as weddings, because weddings are a good source of income and you can make your own price.
Absolutely. All right, so one of our questions is, are entrepreneurs born or made? What's your opinion on that?
I feel like that entrepreneurs, or whatever field you want to go to, they're made.
Okay. All
Meaning
right.
they can have it in their blood, but somebody has to bring it out, as far as, you know, teaching the steps, teaching the ropes, putting time with them in order for them to mold them to be the person that they want to become.
In our last segment, Growing Our Tribe, we shout out another small Black-owned business, as well as a book that has helped us in growing our minds, which in turn grows our business.
Yeah, it's a company called Cupid's Pantry. It's a woman named Shanoa Douglas that she's a black-owned entrepreneur. She has a black-owned company,
Okay.
of course, but she is a caterer,
Okay.
and her website is www.cupidspantry.com,
Okay.
and she is amazing. She's a chef. She's been a chef for a few years for the governor of Atlanta. A lot of different venues and hotels in the city of Atlanta, and also in Tennessee. And also she has French toast mix and blueberry muffin mix in Whole Foods.
Oh, wow. That's definitely amazing.
Right. Black owned.
Okay.
And she has her own recipe in Whole Foods.
Okay. And it was Cupid's.
It's called cupidspantry.com. Go to cupidspantry.com or Cupid's Pantry on Instagram and check out Shanoa Douglas. Amazing female, amazing chef, and, you know, she's the bomb.
All right. Well, thank you, Diggy, aka Anthony Diggs, aka DJ Diggs. Where can they find you and your services?
You can go on Instagram, you know, check me out. My Instagram is Diggs the DJ, DIGGSTHE DJ.
Okay, and we'll have to do a follow-up interview for your food truck once you get that going.
Yeah, follow up with the food truck. So the food truck is going to be off the chain. So it's going to be an egg roll food truck.
Okay.
So it's going to be called Orgasmic Air Fried Egg Rolls.
Okay. The air frying is really the wave right now.
Yeah. So it's going to be all kind of egg rolls, like crab cake. It's going to be Nashville hot chicken. It's going to be hibachi steak, all in the egg roll.
Okay.
But all of them are going to be air fried.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing with my listeners here on Sean Henry's Becoming. Till next time, see you then.
God bless you. Good night.
Manifestation says, I ask for what I want. I command what I want. I send it out into the universe, and I, without a doubt in my faith, in my belief, wait for it to come back to me. I don't look for my blessings. I send the energy out to go get it, and it comes back to find me. Michi X. Till next time, This has been an episode of Sean Henry's Becoming.